Hey everybody, Harry Brailsford again from SMB Nation, and of course I'm at what I would call the home campus. I am out at Microsoft Redmond in Building 113 on a fall day, and I'm with Fred Pullen. And Fred, help me remember, how do you know SMB Nation and the SBS community? We go back quite a while, my friend.
We go back quite a while, Harry.
Yeah.
So I was part of what used to be the seminar sales team, Microsoft across
That's
America.
Right. Yep.
Both for TechNet and TS2. So I did that for 5 years, 2003, I think, to 2007, before moving up to headquarters here.
Yeah, absolutely. Those were I love those fans. So Fred, quickly, we're doing an update. And you're Mr. Browser, and I want to talk about, you raised some interesting points last week at Microsoft Ignite in Florida about the nuances of the Edge browser and IE 11. So let me ask you a couple questions. Why did Microsoft change its support policy for Internet Explorer a few years ago? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's really the ground of enterprise browsing is what browser do you have dependencies on?
Okay.
On Windows 7, we supported IE 8, IE 9, IE 10, and IE 11. So we had four different browsers.
Okay.
Internet Explorer follows the lifecycle of the parent product. So it follows the lifecycle of the operating system on which it's installed.
Okay.
So we found ourselves in the position of supporting four different versions of the browser, potentially through 2020.
Wow.
We also knew that there were some problems with older versions.
Yeah.
We knew that not only wasn't IE 8 compatible with the modern web, but also it had some security problems.
Right.
So we decided, and it was a tough decision. I mean, we talked to a lot of customers about it.
Yep.
Internally, there was a lot of wrangling, but at the end of the day, we decided to do a couple things. Number one is we offered great backward compatibility in enterprise mode for older versions of IE.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we beefed up the IE 11 backward compatibility.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, we announced that we were giving customers essentially a couple of years to upgrade.
Yep.
And at that point, we would only support the most recent version of Internet Explorer.
Yep.
This also helped ease their Windows 10 migration. Because we supported IE 8 consistently on Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and Windows 10.
Yeah.
So our message to customers was, if you upgrade to IE 11 on Windows 7, effectively you're doing part of your Windows 10 migration ahead of time.
Well, let me ask you this. In Windows 10, you have Microsoft Edge and Internet Explorer 11. So why the two browsers?
Why the two browsers is essentially because 20 years ago, and this makes me feel old, but over 20 years ago when they shipped Internet Explorer, the web really wasn't there yet. We didn't have a lot of really great web standards.
Right.
So in order to light up web applications with the power of the PC, Microsoft introduced things like ActiveX controls, browser helper objects, toolbars.
Wow.
These sound familiar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the good news is customers could create really great web applications that took advantage of Java, they took advantage of Silverlight, they took advantage of Flash, all these great technologies at the time.
Yeah.
But the web has evolved since then. So today's modern web with HTML5, CSS3, WebGL, you can do a lot with just standard, web standards.
Right.
So now we find ourselves in the position of still supporting Internet Explorer 11 for backward compatibility. There are sites running in IE 11 that were written 20-some years ago that still work.
Yeah.
But we also need to be able to support the modern web. And so we end up with Microsoft Edge for the modern web and Internet Explorer 11 for backward compatibility. And the good news is, one thing I should mention is customers have the ability to limit how and when IE 11 is run. So you have the ability to say, I only want to run IE 11 for these sites that require that backward compatibility, essentially giving you least privileged browsing. So you're limiting IE 11 just to the sites that you've approved, and everything else runs in the modern browser.
Well, what I've done on my Win 10 laptop is IE 11 is, I like to use that for maybe browsing of a more personal nature. For example, ESPN. Right, I have an interest in how the Seahawks did this last weekend, and so there's the CNNs and the ESPNs of the world, and I want to put that over here on IE 11. Now, for business purposes, I'm going to use a different browser because I don't necessarily care to have the history of ESPN on the drop-down when I'm starting to type in a string to go to a website in a business scenario. where I'm presenting, right? And that's how I've kind of adjudicated that. As I said, okay, IE11, great, I'll track football, and then Edge and maybe one other I'll use for my business purposes when I'm presenting or showing, quite frankly, a Power BI demo, something like that. So that's how I roll. What's your guidance on customers on upgrading? Because that's really interesting about the backward compatibility. Let me phrase this a different way. There's guidance on upgrading, which I want to hear about, but customers to me would be both the customer using the browser, but it would also be the ISV that has an application running, right? So you have two customer groups.
That's right.
Let's talk about advice on upgrading for both.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So for ISVs, most ISVs already support Internet Explorer in some form or fashion.
Right.
And we're suggesting that, especially for older versions of the operating system like Windows 7, where Microsoft Edge is not available,
right.
We suggest that those ISVs continue their IE11 support. Now, for modern web applications, we absolutely suggest that you write your modern web applications using modern standards for modern browsers.
Right.
So if an ISV already has a plan to support Chrome or Firefox or Safari, extending that support to include Microsoft Edge shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And then the B2B customer, is the advice maybe akin to what I'm already experiencing? I've already got both, and I may have reasons to use both.
Yeah. So what we've said is Internet Explorer 11 still follows the life cycle of the parent product. So Internet Explorer 11 is not going away anytime soon. We absolutely want to be able to support those legacy technologies. We want to be able to support older web applications. But at the same time, if I'm writing web applications for today's world, I want to make sure I use modern standards.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to that a little bit. Internet Explorer really is around just like VB6 or older platforms that still support line of business applications that may be in use today, but the platform itself can be considered deprecated or superseded by more modern technologies.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, final question. Is Microsoft Edge available on any other platforms?
Yes. Last year we introduced Microsoft Edge on iOS and Android. And the advantage there is that you now can have favorites that synchronize across your devices, across your Windows 10 devices and iOS or Android. You can start surfing on your phone and send to PC, so you can continue that web session right on the PC. So there's some advantages for having a Microsoft Edge that's on your handheld device as well as on your laptop.
Always learn something from you, Fred. Good to see you again. Thanks for letting me get through security out here at Microsoft Redmond.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you very much. And we'll check in again. We'll check in early next year, right? We're gonna keep the story going. Thank you very much.
Sounds great. Thank you.